Thanks for tuning in to another video. Today I have the Amazfit T-Rex 3 and I'm going to be doing a tips and tricks video. Now I have tips that are very basic and they go all the way up to the advanced. So this would be a great video if this is your first Amazfit watch or if you are very familiar with the product. I broke the tips down into categories like workout and display and navigation, so hopefully you could follow along through the video. I urge you to stay to the end of the video because I'm going to talk about the major fix that Amazfit did with the T-Rex 3. You're going to love this latest software upgrade. This is something new that Amazfit added to the T-Rex 3. It's the night safety light. You can change the colors on this, the interval, all that kind of stuff. And this, if you toggle it on, then it will automatically turn on anytime you are doing a workout outside after sunset. So kind of cool. Let me show you how to get into the settings on this. So we got to get into settings. And then this is actually in workout. And it's the night safety light. The status is, toggled on and off that's on right now. So again, it's not on right now. That was just a preview I was showing you. But if I did do a workout outside, it would automatically turn on without me even doing anything about it. I could change the duration. So again, 1 second, and it's the same amount. It's 1 second light and then 1 second off. And if I did, 3 seconds, it would be 3 seconds lit and then 3 seconds off. Let's go back. Then I got some colors I could pick: red, yellow, and white, so whichever one you like. And then the preview. Again, I could just hit this and, see if I like this design or the time or, the frequency and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's a cool safety feature. This is the night light that you could have. This is kind of made popular by Apple, and Samsung just came out with this on the Ultra. So this is a nice feature, but on the Amazfit, I think they do it a little bit better because you could have any watch face to have this color, not limited to just a few. Then you have several colors on here that you can use. I'll show you those in a minute. And you could also set this to go on at different times. You can schedule it and you could use it during the whole day or, turn it on all the time if you want. It doesn't have to be just at night. So let me just show you what you can do with this. Okay, so let's get into settings here. And this is in display. And let me scroll down here, night display. So let's click on that. And again, you could toggle it on or off, obviously. Then we have colors. I got red, orange is what it is in right now, and then green. Let me just show you, green, that's what that looks like. And then, red, if you want that. I don't know, green just looks a little easier to see. Okay, so now we could auto-enable here. I could have it manually, so I could just turn it on and off if I want to. Or I could have it scheduled, if I hit the schedule button here, and then I could pick whatever time I want it to go on and off. So that's a nice feature. And then there is actually also a shortcut on this. So if we go into our settings here, we go into the toggles. And this button right here, I just click on that, and now it's auto-enabled. And again, this turns it for everything, not just the watch face. I mean, all my workouts, all the apps, everything will be in this color or whatever color you pick. Now, of course, speaking of the display, there is an always-on display on this, which Amazfit has for a while, but they actually have a little flexibility, more flexibility than some other companies. So let me just show you that. We got to get into settings here and a display. And the always-on display right here. So we got the always-on style that you can pick. It could follow the watch face, whatever watch face you have there, and it will just kind of minimize that, black out some of the information, and just have the basics of the watch face that you're using. And not every watch face has an always-on display, but if it does, you could use it. Or you could do select the style of what they have. So these are the options for your always-on display. I think there's 6 there. And you could use any of these, so it doesn't matter what your watch face is, you could pick one of these. So if you had a digital watch face, you could have your analog always-on display or whatever you want. And let me show you how we can enable that. So right now I have it off. You can have it set for smart, so basically the watch decides when it thinks you want it. Obviously you don't need it when you're sleeping, but it will turn it on for most of the day. You could have it scheduled when you want it to turn on and off. You could have it on all day, or you could just have it off. So again, good flexibility with that. So this is another setting that I'll bring up, which I didn't need to use, but if you feel like the wake on wrist is not working out quite as well as you want it to be, you could change the sensitivity on it. So let me show you here. We're going to go into settings. This is also in display. Let me see if I can find it here. So we got the wake on wrist. So let me click on that, and you could change the response speed. You could have sensitive or standard. So, and then you can enable it at different times. So let me show you the options here. You could have it smart. So again, you don't need this to turn on at night. The watch will turn it off automatically for you. You could schedule it if you want. You could have it on all day, or you could just have it on off, and then you got to hit the buttons to turn it on. So whichever option you like. I found that the wake, when you raise your wrist, worked perfectly on this. So I didn't have any issues to adjust it, but if you need to, there it is. So let's talk about strength training, which is something that is not available, I don't think, in any other watch. Okay, this is just some data that I have. This is when I was in the gym using this. Basically, I was fooling around with the watch a little bit and just seeing how well it did and, did some other stuff. So it wasn't a crazy workout. So the Amazfit T-Rex 3 will automatically keep track of all your workouts, and it will actually categorize up to 25 exercises automatically, which is great. I'll show you a little more details about this in a second. This is one exercise that I did, and I edited this, and I'll show you how to do all that kind of stuff, and so you get some details about how this works. So this is the information you get when you get home. You can check it out. It gives you, all this data here, this, and then it actually shows you the muscle groups that you worked out, which is, I don't know, I think that's just really cool. It's not always 100% right, but, it's just really cool. This is a new thing that he added for the T-Rex 3. Does this thing to give you some more information about your workout and, what you can improve upon and things like that. And then this is the details. So it shows you all your exercises. Now, it will do this automatically, and again, it gives 25 exercises, and it gets it right, for me, probably 60-70% of the time. Some days it's like 50%, some days it's like 80%. So it does, I think, matter a little bit how good your form is and things like that, but it's pretty amazing that the watch could even do this. So again, this is the data here. If you're someone who likes to write down all your stuff and your, the weights you use and the reps and all that kind of stuff, this would be wonderful for that. So it gives you your exercises here, it will give you your rep count here, and then it gives you the weight that you would actually enter in yourself. And all this stuff you could edit. So if it gets a couple of them wrong, you kind of can remember the reps that you did and the exercises that you did. So then you just hit the little edit button here, and then you could minus this if it got one accidentally, but that usually doesn't happen. You just click on it, and then you could edit it. And then these are the exercises that you can put in there. Again, it will track 25 exercises automatically, but if you go through here, these are all the exercises that you could change it to, that it may not have registered. And again, you got this whole list here. I mean, there's a lot of things here that's available. Then you could edit the amount of reps that you did in case it miscounted a couple of them. And then you could add the weight if you want. So that's a real nice thing that you can keep track of. Now, if you are going to the gym and using your watch, let me show you how you actually do this. In the description, I'll put in there the 25 exercises that it would automatically detect for you. And then again, the other ones you could just add in later. Now, if you go to the gym and you want to use this thing, it is only available in strength training. So you have to go into here. And that's my ZEPP coach telling me what to do today. We're just going to skip that, and we're just going to hit go. And I'll just simulate some reps here. Okay, so there's some reps that it did there for me, and it has, all the data in there. But then when you go into your, when you're done with that rep or exercise, whatever you're doing, you just hit this. And now you can enter in your weight that you were using there. And then it keeps track of the rest time. So if you take a break for 30 seconds or something like that, you could see that there. You could also change the reps if, hey, I didn't do 7, I did 12. You could just add it right there. And then when you're done with your break, then you just hit this here, and it's going into your second set. So basically every exercise that you do, every set that you do, you just got to hit this, and then, enter the data, make sure it's right. You keep track of your rest there, your heart rate and all that kind of stuff. That's how you would enter the weight if you wanted to do that. And then you go into the next one. So again, instead of you bringing some paper with you and writing down all your exercises that you do, if you're the kind of person that does all that, this watch does most of it right here. And again, you could fix the reps and the weight right here. And then when you get home, you can look at the phone and see what exercises that it detected. And if it was wrong on a couple, you could just change them. So great feature that's available on this one. Now, the T-Rex 3 will also auto-detect your basic workouts like running, walking, cycling, things like that, and you can turn that on and off and edit it. So let me just show you how to do that. So we got to get into settings for that, and I don't use these buttons too often. I don't really like doing them, but I'll do it for the video, hopefully. So we got to get into workout and workout detection. Just hit that. Now, these are the types that it will detect, and you can see here, there's 8 that it will detect, and you can click on the ones that you want it to auto-detect and ones that you don't, and if you want to turn them all off, you can do that as well. Then you can get an alert for this. So after you're exercising, usually for 8 to 10 minutes or so, it will detect that you're doing something, and then it gives you an alert and it says, do you want me to record this or not? If you don't want that alert, you could just shut it off. Then also you could change the sensitivity. So if it is going off too much, you can make it less sensitive, or if it's not picking up enough, obviously you make it more sensitive. These are your choices here: high, low, and standard. Now, you could also do interval training. So let me show you that. So for interval training, you got to go get into a workout. I'll just, let's pick outdoor cycling here. I'm going to dismiss this, and we're just going to swipe up, and we're going to go into the training bar here. And the training template, you have to make this on the app. So I'll show you that in a minute, but this is where you would access it on the watch. And the interval training is kind of similar to the template, but just a little different. And again, I'll show you that in a second. But interval training, you just hit select here, and this is what you got. So we could adjust this. Let me get into the adjustment here. So you could have your warm-up, your training, your rest, and you could loop it for as many times as you want, and you could change the times on this stuff. So here by time distance, you could set it to whatever you want. And if you want to just do by time and you just want to change it, and then you could change the time to whatever you want. So the watch will beep when you get into the training and to the next step, and it kind of keeps track of your whole workout there for you. So that's kind of neat if you want to use that. Now, something else you probably want to do is change your workout listing. So we have a lot of workouts to go through. I mean, I think there's like 160 or 70 on this. So way too much, right? So if you want to change this and edit it, basically you have to go down to the bottom. So let me just scroll for this. And we get down here and we just hit the plus sign. So now you can add whatever workout that you want. I'll show you how to do that in a second, but you could also edit this. So if you never do outdoor cycling, all you need to do is hit it, and now I could delete it. So now it's gone from my list. I could always add it later. And if I want it in a different spot, then I could just kind of scroll it, and kind of the workouts behind it scroll, and this will stay where it is, and then you could move it that way. And then you could hit OK, and that's moved. Now, if you want to add some workouts, you hit this, and then these are your choices. And it breaks it down a little bit so it's not so overwhelming, but there is a lot of stuff to go through here. But then if you want, let's pick extreme workouts. I haven't seen that one before. So these are the workouts that are available there. And if you want to pick one of these, you just hit the plus sign, and now that will be in my list. And I'd be able to move that up or down depending on how often I plan on doing that. And this you can only do on the watch. You can't edit this on your app. Now, another thing is nice if you're working out and you want to be able to have the screen on all the time, so you could just glance it and see what's going on with your data and your heart rate and all that kind of stuff, instead of you having to hit a button to wake it up or unlock it or anything like that. So there is a setting for that. So let's get into it. And you got to get into workout. And I got to scroll down here to always on display during workout. So you could turn that on. Now that will use more battery, and especially if you're working out for an hour or two every day. I mean, the screen's going to be on for that whole time. So just keep that in mind. Another nice customization that the Amazfit products have allowed you to do for a while is adjust the data page. So there's my wingsuit flying, which I probably will be doing next weekend. But let's just pick any one of these here. We'll do the open water, okay? I'm going to dismiss this. Now, if you go up here, we get the data page. So I got to go into more, and I click on this. Now, this is the data that's going to be shown, right? And you can see what's going on there. And this is different for every exercise that you have. But if I don't need the workout duration, I could just hit this, and I can change it to whatever I want. And there's a lot of different options in here that you can change it to. So let's go with temperature class. So highest temperature, lowest temperature, I can click on this, and then this is what will show up there. So that's awesome. And then you could scroll down here, and I could hit add a page, and now I could do another data page, and it could be this one. Let me see if I go down here, and you can see here there's a lot there to add, and this has whatever 5 there. And this has less. So you could basically dictate how many data points that you want on that screen. Obviously, the less data, the easier it will be to see, but the less stuff will be there. But you could just pick one of these, and then it will add that on there. And then you could, again, adjust these and pick whatever you want in here. And again, go through the options and pick what you want. So that's great. And then this, whatever I set up here, will be saved for just the pool swimming. And then if I want different data points for bike riding or running or walking, I could do that. So that's kind of nice. And it is, like I said, very customizable on this. So that's a great thing that the Amazfit gives you. Now, another thing that Amazfit does that actually I don't think I've seen on any other product is you can customize the GPS accuracy / how much battery you want it to use. So let me show you how to do that. To do that, we got to get into settings again. And I'm going to scroll this down until I get to workout and GPS settings. And these are the modes I have. I have accurate, automatic, power saving, and I can customize it. So obviously power saving is not quite as accurate, but uses less battery. Automatic will kind of flip back and forth. So if you're running in an open space, it will use the power saving, and then you get into some trees and it loses a signal. It will get more accurate, and it will do that by itself. And then you have accurate here. You could also customize it if you want, and then you could pick, all the details that you want. If the power saving is enough for you, which I probably would suggest you go into first, and if that's accurate enough for you, then you're saving some battery. If it's not, then you can go into the automatic or the accurate, or maybe make a custom plan for you. Another thing you get for workouts, which you may or may not like, is the voice broadcast. So every lap or mile that you do, it will kind of just tell you, hey, this is your speed, this is your duration, all that kind of stuff. And if you want that, great. If you don't want it, then we could turn it off. So again, we got to get into settings, and I'm going to get into workout again. And voice broadcast. This, it's on now because I kind of like it, but you could turn it off if you don't want to hear it. Now, this doesn't have a speaker on it, so you won't hear it from the watch, but if you have buds paired to it, it will give you the data through the buds, which is a nice feature. Now, I also did a whole video on how to get maps on here, how to get the offline maps on here, and how to make a GPX file, how to get it from the phone into your ZEPP app and then onto your watch, and how to do the tracks and all the availability for the navigation. So check out that video. I'll leave it in the description. But if you're interested in the offline maps or the GPX, please check that out because it was just too much to do in this video. Okay, so that's the basic workout stuff that you could do on the watch, and let me just show you how you could do that on your phone. I'm just going to go over the workout settings that you could do in the app, and then I'll go into, again, more details about the display, navigation, and everything else that you can do. So for right now, let's just go into the T-Rex 3. You just hit that, and we go into device settings. So we're going to go into workout here. So this is where the workout detection is. These are the categories. You could toggle them on and off easy enough. You get that alert, and then the sensitivity you can change. You could also do the GPS. Just hit this, and it actually gives you a little more data, so you know exactly what you're picking, and then you can pick which one you want. Let me just get back here into the health monitor, because this you cannot do on the watch. You can only do it on the app. And you can change your heart rate monitoring, how often it's doing it. This is the frequency that you can pick. The high heart rate is here. The low heart rate, you can change that, and you just tap it, and you can change it to whatever it is, or change it to whatever you want it to be. Also keep in mind, this is when you're not working out, okay? So this is when you're inactive and it gets a crazy heart rate reading. It will give you an alert. This is the active heart rate monitor. So this is, if you're doing some activity, it will automatically increase the frequency. So you could have the heart rate set for every 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever you want. But then when you start exercising, it will start measuring it continuously. Now we have the sleep monitoring here, the assisted sleep. You could have that on or off. You got the breathing quality. And this is actually good. I do use a CPAP, just full disclosure here. And when I don't wear it, I do get an alert that I was having some breathing issues. So it actually is pretty good, I think. And for whatever reason, I didn't wear the CPAP that night. I think it detected it every time. So that's pretty good. The stress monitoring is here. It detects high stress. You could have it give you the notification for the breathing exercises, or you could just turn that off. And this is the SpO2 monitoring. Again, on or off. You can't set any time frequency on that, but you can pick a low blood oxygen level if you want. And again, you get an alert if it gets too low. Let me just go back into settings here and into display, which is actually kind of a workout feature, but it's in the display mode. So this is where you would wake during workout. So if you want it to always be on when you're working out, you just toggle on that. So I'm back in the settings here, and if you scroll down to the apps, this is how you make a template. So you have the interval training that you do on the watch, and you can't do that on the app. But then making a template, you can only do on the phone and not the watch. But you'll see it on the watch, and I'll show you that in a moment. So we go into training here. So this is one I made just as a test. I don't usually use this, but again, just wanted to show you how it works. You could come up with whatever name you have, so you could have several of these if you want. And then if you want to edit it, these are the things I have there, and if I don't want it to be warm-up, I could change it to training, a break, or restore. I'm not really sure what the restore is. So you got the duration here, but you can change your target to be distance, duration, calorie consumption, whatever you want, and then you can pick what you want it to be. Then you could also set it to do workout alerts. And again, you could set these up, and then I could move these if I want. So if I wanted to, the training to be after the cool down for some reason, I can do that. And then I could also add an interval, and then I could add, again, whatever I want, the training, and the new duration and all that kind of stuff. So I could have a whole list of things that I'm doing here. Now I'm just going to cancel this because I do have one already synced to the watch. And once you make the template on the app, it will automatically sync to the watch. You don't need to do anything with it. We just have to get into our exercise here. And that template was in outdoor running. Now, if you wanted to do it in a different exercise, when you do the create training, you would get to pick whatever exercise you wanted it to be. But again, the one I did was in outdoor running. So we got to get into that. And then I'm just going to dismiss this. And then we're going to get into here and then training, and then template. And that's the Saturday workout. So that, again, the watch will kind of guide you through your training exercises and cool down periods and all that kind of stuff. So kind of an advanced feature, I think. Kind of nice if you like to do that. And let's move on. Now, I'm just going to show you some basic navigation on this. If you had Amazfit watches before, the navigation is probably pretty straightforward, but it is a little different on this one because of the buttons. But let me just show you that quickly so you know how to use this. So the back button is here, and if you hit it once, you just go back on the submenus. But if you're like 3 or 4 submenus in, and then you have to hit the back button, 3 or 4 times to get back to where the home screen is. But if you just hold the button, it will take you back to the home screen all the way. Now, of course, if you swipe up, this is the shortcut cards, and you could scroll through here. And while I'm here, let me just show you this. If you hit the settings here, we could edit this. These are the ones that are there, the ones that I could minus because they're there. And if you scroll down here, these are the ones I can add that are not there. And so you can move these around, do whatever you want with them, subtract them, add them, whatever you want. And then the ones that you have, if you want to just kind of move the location of it, I didn't think that was going to work. I just got to hold it, and then we could just kind of swipe it and move it to wherever you want. And then that would be the new location on it. So that's an easy way to fix these shortcut cards on the bottom. And these are actually really nice. They're like kind of widgets, but you'll get a lot more of them. You know, you can put like 15 in there and you can scroll through them super quickly. And it just has a real concise information on there. I actually really like those. Then, of course, we have the top here. This is the command center. We got 2 toggles there. And if you want to move these around at all, you just hit and hold the button. Now we could minus any that are here. Right? That's not a problem to get rid of any of these. If you want to add them, you can only hold 12 on here. So these are the options that you could add. And that's all of them. And then if you want to move one of these around, just hit it again, just holding it, and just hold it and kind of slide it to wherever you want. And that would be your new setup. So really easy to adjust these on the watch. Okay, now let me show you the app list here, because you probably want to do some adjustments with that. And you can't do super adjustments, but you could do a lot. You just got to hold it, and it's going to say I'm entering edit mode. So now if you scroll down, all these you can't delete, but there's a few on the bottom that you can delete. And all of them are on here, so there's nothing to add. If you want to add to the App Store, you know, you do that separately through the phone. Now, if I want to move the location of one of these, I just hold it, and then I just slide it, just like on the other settings here. And it's a little hard to slide it all the way up. But if I hold it here, and then I should be able to go like that, and then I can move it to wherever I want. The other thing is the morning update that you get, which you can toggle on and off, but that's a little text that you get in the morning that tells you like your weather and how you slept and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I got to get into settings again. Let me just scroll down here. We got to get into preferences, and then we got to scroll down. Morning updates right there. So let's go ahead and click on that. Now you can toggle it on and off if you want. And then if we just scroll down here, this is the content. So these are the things that are there. And then if you want to add them, there's only like 2 to add. So there they are there. You can just add those. To move the order of these, all you need to do is just push it and hold it. And it's sometimes just a little finicky, but you just push and hold it, and it doesn't release until you actually pick your finger off of it. For some reason, it's kind of weird. Now, you could delete it if you want, and then you could also just move it like this. Everything moves behind it, and then you could check it, and that's your new location. So that's awesome. I'll show you how to do that on the phone in a moment. And of course, with the buttons, it's self-explanatory, but this is your select button. And if you are on the home page and you hit it, you open up your workouts. This is the back button. And if you hit it while you're on the home screen, you open up your app list. And then these are the up and down buttons. So if you're in your app list, you could kind of move down. I wish there was like a long press and it just glided through it quickly, but there is not a setting as of now. Hopefully they add that in the future. And so if you hit the down button, you open up your shortcut cards. And then if you hit the top button here, you open up your control center on the top there. Another important thing with the navigation is you can customize some of these buttons. So let me show you how to do that. Let's get into settings here. And then we're going to get into preferences. Let's hit that. And let me go through here. Shortcut buttons. That's what we want. So let's go ahead and hit this. I got to hit the select button. And this is what you could customize. You got the long press on the select button. So that's nice. The select button, you could actually change that. So instead of opening up your workouts, you could set it to open up an app or something like that. You got the long press on the up button and the long press on the down button. And all of these features should be the same. So this is, all the apps that are there basically, which is kind of a nice thing. And you could also have it do nothing. And then if you scroll down here, and again, we get the same list. So you could, have a lot of toggles there. So you can customize this wherever you want. So you could have quick access to any app that you use frequently. Okay, there is an offline assistant that Amazfit has had on all their watches forever, and let me show you how that works. They also have the ZEPP Flow, which is kind of like an AI assistant on here, and I did discuss that a little bit in my full review, and I might have a separate video on all the features that can do, but basically it could do just about everything. But you just talk to it naturally, and it could, change the brightness on your screen, it could open an app, open a workout, all that kind of stuff. You could ask it questions just like you would Google, so it has a lot of functionality to it. But let me show you the offline assistant now. So we got to get into TREX 3 here. That's the one we're using. And we're going to go into device settings and then offline voice control. So let's go ahead and click on that. So now the advantage of this one over the ZEPP Flow is that you don't have to do anything to activate this. So again, you can have it here when you respond 5 seconds after you turn your wrist. So you wake your wrist and then you just say something and then the offline assistant will be listening for you. respond in 5 seconds when the screen lights are on. So you could manually toggle it on as long as the lights are on after within 5 seconds. It will listen to whatever your commands are, or it will listen to any time the screen is lit. So if you have your screen timeout on 30 seconds, then it will be listening to you for 30 seconds. Now that will use a little more battery, but again, if you want to use this feature, that's what's there. Now there's a lot of different things that you can do. So let me just show you this quickly. It takes a while to open up. Oh, actually it opened up quick this time. So there's basic stuff like you can open an app, do sleep mode, brightness, things like that. You could start a workout. This is kind of what I use it for, because you could just, instead of finding the exact workout that you want, even though you could move them and put it to the top, it's just easier when you just flip your wrist and you could just say, hey, start outdoor running, and it will do it automatically. So really easy to do that. And you can see what's available here. You could do the music. And you can set an alarm if you want. And then there's a couple of widgets that you can do. And the flashlight you could turn on and off, which might be a handy feature. So pretty basic operations you can do on this, but I found that it works very well. And if you know what to ask for and you use a couple of the functions regularly, it's very easy to use. And again, the advantage of this one is that you could just have it waking up automatically and listening for you. For the ZEPP Flow, there is no automatic wake up. And you could set that to turn on with a button press, but it still needs to be turned on and activated. With this one, you could just, again, raise your wrist and say what you want. So that's kind of a nice feature. Okay, now this is not the full end of the video, but this is the big software update that Amazfit, I think, is fixed, and it made it super competitive, and it really takes away any excuse you would have not to get an Amazfit product over another watch. It's the reply options that you have now. Now, in the past, you can only reply with a quick canned response that you had. They did fix that with the ZEPP Flow. We did have some voice to text functionality, but it was still a little cumbersome. But now, let me show you here. I got a text. First off, you get images, which were not always the case here. So now I clicked on here. That's just an image I sent, right? Now, if I scroll up here, these are my options to respond. This is all new here. The quick responses, that is old. So that's just, the ones that you had in there. All these can be edited if you want. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. But you could edit these. You could add them. So you could just have, hey, I'm in a meeting, or I'll call you back in 15 minutes. Any standard reply that you could have on there, and then you can toggle that on very quickly. But you now have the ability to have a keyboard. So click on that. This is a full keyboard. Just type out whatever you want, like this. Now, there is no swiping or anything like that, like Samsung has. You could write the letters in the window there and stuff like that. You don't have that, but, other than that, you got just about everything. Now, if you go back here, we could also do speech to text here. I just have to tap this. Call me back in 10 minutes. Perfect. I used this a few times already, and I had no issue with it transcribing what I said. But I'm also going to show you could do the emojis as well. Just click on here. So you don't have just like 10 emojis. You got quite a bit there. And then you got more. And then, you got more here if I can click on it. And, there's a lot of stuff that you can do there. And also, if you notice, when I do the keyboard here, if I go into the keyboard, then if I just hit this takes me to, the numbers and symbols. But then it will take me to my emojis. And then it will also go into my dictate if I want to do that. And that's it. So, but that is an awesome feature. And again, you just type whatever you want. And then, you hit the check mark here. I'm doing this behind the camera here, so it's a little tough to do. But you just hit that, and then the message is sent. So this is a really big improvement for Amazfit. This has been kind of a sticking point. I've had Amazfit products for years, and it's been a sticking point forever that I could only see the text. Then I could, see the image finally. Then I could reply with a quick reply. This is just really awesome that they added this. So again, I'm very excited about that update, as you can tell. That's as excited as I get. Okay, so let me just show you a couple other things with the replies here that you can do. Let me just get into my T-Rex here. And we're going to go into notifications. And then we got to go into our app notifications. And then once this loads here, then we got the quick response management. I wasn't going to go into it, but this is where all your apps are. So you can get notifications from any app that is on your phone, and that I've never had an issue with it. But if you want to turn off the notifications, then like I said, go through it. Otherwise, you might be getting a notification every 2 seconds. And if you're not getting a notification from a particular app, check here to make sure it is on, and then make sure you have allowed all the permissions through the ZEPP app. But what I really wanted to talk about is the quick response management here. So these are my replies that I have in there that you saw on the phone just before. So I could just tap one of these, and I could edit it and change it to whatever I want. I'm going to cancel it for now. And then you could also edit it and move these around. So, not a big deal. If I could do this, there we go. So it's not a big deal if I only have 5 here, but if I had 15 or 20 messages, I might want to put the first 5 on the top that I use often, and then the ones that I use less frequently on the bottom, but that's up to you. And then I could also just add a text and just type whatever I want here. And you can see there's 140 characters that you can fit on there. So you could write, a sentence or two, no problem. Okay, so this one is a little advanced and you have to kind of want it to do this. But if I go into the T-Rex here, and I'm going to go into device settings here, and then I'm going to go into sound and vibration. So this is also, again, I wasn't going to get into it. I can't cover every tip and feature that's available on the T-Rex 3, but this is, if the buzzer that is available, you could have it turned on for your workout. So when it reach your mile point, or I found out the other day when I had it doing the AI coach, and the coach was telling me that my heart rate was too low, and it kept telling me my heart rate was too low, and it was buzzing like every 5 minutes telling me, get your heart rate up. So it will buzz for you during your workout notifications. And others is basically, as of now, it is the alarms and timers. You can't set this for your notifications, which would have been a nice thing, I think. And then the intensity you can change if you want. I found medium to be pretty loud, but again, you can make it louder if you want. So the thing I was going to show you is the vibration. So we got the vibration intensity, you got enhanced and normal, but even on enhanced, it's kind of weak. So if you want to wake up for an alarm or something like that, you really need to have the buzzer on, I think, unless you're a really light sleeper. But the vibration, you can change the pattern and you can make any number of patterns that you want. So you don't even have to look at your watch and you can tell where the notification is from. You could have a specific pattern assigned to an app or assigned to a specific notification or whatever you want. And you could also make a vibration pattern that's a little longer and, maybe has frequent staccato kind of things so that it's a little more noticeable because, again, the vibration motor on this one is just a little weak. So we hit vibration. So this is the notifications I have here, and they're all set to default except for this one. And I set this up actually on a different Amazfit watch from years ago. And when I set up the new T-Rex, it just brought it in from the other watch, which is kind of nice, but also, all my data's from everything else is probably somewhere as well, but whatever, let's move on. So if we edit this, I got test 1, 2, and 3. I could edit it, I could change the name. I can't edit the actual pattern that I made, but as of now, but I could just make a new one very easily. So if I go like this, and so I'm going to just add one. And now if you could see here, I just tap the phone whenever I want a vibration to happen. And if I hold it longer, it will be a long vibration. If I do a quick one, then it will be quick. So you probably won't be able to hear it for the video, but you can see the lines here when I'm tapping it. You could do a long one, any of that stuff. And then it will say long vibration, that's going to reduce the battery life. But if you want to get a specific vibration or get a notification, that's how you do it. I am not going to save this. And then I'm also going to show you, like a previous one I have, you could, if you change it, so I got the default, I'm going to change it to test 3. I don't know if you could hear that, but there's a vibration pattern going, so you can see which one that you actually want. That takes a little bit of work, but if you're interested in doing it for a couple of notifications, it's available. Kind of cool that you can do it. Let me just show you a couple of things for the privacy that this watch has. I think they changed something because this was a little different here. But if you scroll down here, I'm going to go into settings, and it's the workout, and you can see there's a spelling error there. So I don't know if that was a software update they're going to fix or what, but this seems to have changed. But for route data permissions, so you could have this deleted if you want, or not saved, I should say. That's up to you. I thought there was an option here for all the data that you have, but I don't see that now, so I don't know if something changed on that. And you could enable background storage if you want to. I didn't, but you can if you want to. The other thing is the app permission management page. So this is where you give permission to ZEPP app to do all your stuff. Now, if you don't want these things, something you could not authorize it, but then maybe some apps and features wouldn't work. So if you want some more privacy, you could definitely not authorize this, but just keep in mind something may not work. And if it doesn't work, then you just toggle it back on if you really want that. And then we go into personal information and security. This is just telling you, what the agreements are here. But this one, you could actually delete the data if you want. So, clear data, delete account. You could take all this stuff and you can export your data and then delete it if you want. That's up to you. That's giving you a little extra flexibility that maybe is not available on some other watches. Another nice feature is the voice memo. I don't use this one that much, but it might be nice if you do this a lot instead of having to take out your phone to do it. So this is all the way at the bottom here in the more right now. And here we go, voice memo. Now you just go ahead and do it. This is a test. Let me see if this works at all. And then we hit stop. If you're parking somewhere and you kind of want to say what floor you're on in a parking garage or something like that, now you can't play this back on your watch, obviously, because there's no speakers. But you could play it back if you had some earbuds. So that's kind of a cool thing. So if you're in the ZEPP app, you go into the T-Rex, and then I'm going to go down here to my voice memo. I click on that. These are my 2 recordings that I made, and it doesn't transfer it automatically, which is odd. So you got to hit transfer recording, and then you're going to do this, and that will transfer it to your phone. Okay, so I just turned Wi-Fi on my watch. Okay, so this is a little involved for doing a voice memo transfer, but this is what we got to do. Okay, so now this is my voicemails here. So that is a little convoluted. So you could transfer them to from the watch to the phone because you can't listen to them on here because you don't have a speaker. So then you could transfer them here, and then you can listen to them if you want. And when you're done with them, you can just go ahead and delete them. And we're in this menu page here. Let me just show you a couple other things for the navigation and the editing that you can do. We could do with the app list management here. So this is maybe a little easier to do here instead of on your watch. These are the ones that you can get deleted. And these, if you don't want them in the more section, you can just take them like this and move them over to the other side. Now it's in your main app list. And then these are the more apps there. And if you maybe have an app that you don't use that often, you can kind of put it down here so it's still available, but it's a little more hidden and a little bit out of the way so you don't have to scroll through so many apps. And again, you could just delete these, but this is every app that you have. So there's nothing hidden on here. If you want to take them off, you could just scroll it all the way down to the bottom like this. And now it's not going to show up on the watch anywhere. So, and then you could always add this back in if you need to. We're going to discard the changes on that. Now we could also go to device settings. And in here, there's a couple of things that I showed you how to edit on the watch, but it might be easier to do on the phone. We got the control center. So this is the control center. When you swipe down, it has it all listed here. Again, you can change the, you can delete them, obviously. You can add them if you want. And then you could also just kind of rearrange them if you want, just like on any other menu. I'm just going to discard that. Then this is the morning updates down here. You could change this, you could toggle it on and off. And then again, you could arrange these just like you could any other menu. Now, if you get out of this little submenu, we go back to the main one. We got the shortcut cards. That's these. So if we have this and we scroll up, this is the shortcut cards there. And you have them here. You could rearrange the order just like any other one. And then there is no adding or subtracting on this. You just have to scroll them above the bar. It becomes a resident or it becomes visible. And if you scroll up below the bar, then it's not visible anymore. So if I have this, I can just scroll this up. Now it's part of my visible list. And if, again, I don't want it, I just scroll them all the way down to the bottom. So it's just a little different than the other menus. It's always been a little different like that. I'm not sure why it's different, but that's just the way it is. I'll just discard that. Now, again, see my other video on the map management. I showed you how to download maps, how to get the ski maps and the topographical maps, and how to make a GPX file, how to download it and get it onto your phone, and then get it onto your watch, and then all the tracking features on the watch. So check out that video because it was just a little too much to include on this one. So as I was just about to publish my video on the T-Rex 3 and the tips and tricks, Amazfit decided to update their ZEPP app, which basically is mostly the same. So I was going to go back in the video and change everything, but I figured it's mostly the same, and the software doesn't go to everyone all at once sometimes, and sometimes it's not available in every country. So I just kind of left everything as it was, and I'm just going to show you where everything is on the new app, which is, again, mostly the same. They just kind of made it look more modern. And there's only one thing they moved, so I'll just show you that. And there's one feature they added, so let me just show you that stuff here. You still got 4 places here to go to. They did add this thing, which is the subscription services, which I'll just touch on real quick. But this is your home page. So this is the thing they changed the most. And you can see here, they just kind of made it look more modern, and the graphs are a little nicer, and everything's printed out a little nicer here. Then you got your readiness score. Again, just the same kind of flow that they made before. The sleep, basically the same data here. You can still do what you were doing before bed. You could, still put in your wake up mood, whatever you want there, and it will have all the details there. And then the exertion, this is a new one that they added, and this is just, some information there. Now, you could edit some of this stuff. You can only edit this page. All the other pages you can't edit, and that might change soon. They just updated the software, and usually a couple of weeks after the software, they have a couple more fixes and changes and little refinements that they make. So this might be available on the other tabs here eventually, but right now you just hit the edit, and this is just like what we had before, where you just hit one, and you can kind of move it up and down if you want. And then these are the ones that are on the screen and visible, and then these are the ones that are not visible. And if you want to make them visible, you just take this and kind of scroll over there, and now it's there. And if I hit save, and now you can see I got my skin temperature there. Then this you can edit, but not on any previous day. You actually have to do it on the today's date. So there's no edit page right here. Okay, and it takes a couple of moments to get to the today page, but when you have the today page, now you have this edit. So now if you didn't want the exertion here, you just hit this, and I can change this from exertion, and I can change this to, readiness score here. Now I hit this, and I could save that. And now when I hit the readiness, it will take me to my readiness data, which is kind of nice. Now also on the home screen here, this is where they change something. So now this is where I go for my general settings. So if I hit this, I went over these before a little bit in the video, and I just wanted to show you they were down here on the bottom of your device page. It used to be down here. Now they moved it to over here, and you just hit this. And the basically things I just touched on in the video was that your third-party accounting, this is where you can link any other app and your fitness data will transfer over. And then also here we have some settings that you can go down here. We get some workout data. This is where you could delete your data if you don't want it stored. Looks like it's just for route data right now, but that might, again, change in the future. Then if you scroll down here, this is the app permissions page. If you click on here, you could not authorize, all this stuff. The only things, if you don't authorize it, again, sometimes the apps and functions don't work, and if they don't, then that's where you go to change that if you want. This is the privacy and security. If you go down here, you could delete your data if you want, and you could also export it and then delete it if you want. These are the things I touched on in the video. I just wanted to show you that they moved just slightly. Now, the new feature they added is the heart rate zone. And it was funny because I just got a question about this for one of my videos. Can you change the heart rate zone? But now you can. So you can go with what they have, or you can change it here. So you can see here, you just got the percentages, and they probably just come up with this basically based on your weight and height and things like that. And they come up with their standard, but then if you want to change it, you just hit this and you can change it to whatever you want. So that's really great that they added that customization. Okay, so let's get out of this. And now we're going to go into the workout. This is basically the same. They just kind of, again, made it look a little more modern, changed the fonts a little bit. You can still move these up and down if you want. And I touched on in the video the training template. This is where you could adjust that if you want. And then we go into Aura. This is where the premium services are, the subscription services. If you want to sign up for these, you can. And then we go into the device care. This is basically the same. It's just that if you have other Amazfit products that are up here now, whereas they used to be down here, they just kind of move slightly. Not a big deal, because most people probably don't have that many watches. But then everything else is the same. You got your watch faces, your app store, and then these are the settings that we went over. The health monitoring, you can change that if you want. This is exactly the same. Again, just a little bigger font there. Notification and reminders. This is where you can change your apps, change your quick replies, all that kind of stuff right here. Again, exactly the same as everything else. We got device settings. This is where you could, do the brightness and the vibration patterns that I showed you how to do. This is your workout stuff that you can change your workout detection and your GPS settings if you'd like. And then basically everything else is the same here. The control center you could adjust. You could adjust the morning updates, and then this is the offline voice control that we went over that you could adjust that stuff. Then we got the app list management here. This is where you can move the apps around. Again, exactly the same as before. Shortcut cards, that's right here. So this is the shortcut cards. Again, exactly as before. You adjust them the same exact way as before. Just kind of, again, the fonts are a little bit different here. This is where the apps, you have some different icons here, but all the same stuff. You could add an alarm. This is where your voice memos are. The calendar, this will sync with your Google Calendar, but you could add an event if you want. To-do list, you can add an event there if you'd like. The membership card, you just click on this, and I have one already in there that shows up on my watch. No problem with doing that. If you want to add it, it will just scan your QR code, and then basically it will show up on your watch. And then you could edit it here. You could change the name. You can make it a different color, all that kind of stuff. And then you could hold up to 20 of these on your watch. And then this way, if you go into the gym or something like that, they could just scan your watch instead of you having to take out your card or your phone or anything like that. So it might be a little easier for some stuff. So that is where everything is on the new refined app, which is, again, basically the same. It's nice that Amazfit is updating this stuff, and it does actually look much more modern. I think that covered a lot of the major features and tips on here, and a couple of hidden ones and a couple of the basic ones. If there's any tips that you think I should have included or any features that I missed, please leave it in the comments, and I will do my best to answer every comment that I get. So thank you for watching. If you liked this video, if it was helpful at all, please, of course, consider subscribing. If that's too much to ask, then maybe just liking and sharing it with somebody. That also helps a lot. Thank you for watching. Check out my channel if you want. I categorize my watch reviews into like budget watches, premium watches, watches with great battery life. So if you have any interest in that, check that out, and hopefully that'll give you some information you need. Thanks so much. I'll see you on the next video.